This video is brought to you by the Pros Closet. Stop waiting for your dream bike and start riding it. Let's see what's inside the bike. I think this is pretty cool. So today I thought I would do something a little bit different, and we're gonna probe my bicycle. That's right, I bought a $30 wireless endoscope. For 30 bucks, this thing's actually pretty amazing. I can connect it to an iPad, iPhone, and use this long snake type thing to look inside the bike. This one's even got an adjustable light here, which is pretty wild. The whole reason I'm doing this is to kind of show you the absurdity and difficulty of internally routed bike. If you don't know, I'm ditching one by going two by and adding a front derailleur to my Bear Claw. On this bike in particular, it's been a little bit tricky because of the internal routing. In a previous video, I was successfully able to get my cable inside the frame without the proper tool, and that raised a lot of questions as to why one would do that and also why I didn't do certain things. For super quick recap, what I did in that previous video was first I got the shift cable through using a magnet to kind of drag it through to the frame hole. And then on one end, I nail knotted some floss, worked the floss all the way through, and then took that floss and nail knotted it to some housing and snaked the housing through that way. The most common question or comment was, why didn't I just slide the housing over the cable? Once the cable was through, why go through that extra step of using floss as an intermediary? Let's suppose for a second that I did successfully get the inner cable through. You'll notice that the inner shift cable is pretty limp and the housing itself is pretty stiff. If I were to just push the housing over, you can see what's happening here. It's not following the contour of the shift cable, it's kind of just pushing it around. The shift cable itself is not stiff enough to sufficiently guide the housing through the hole. Before I go any further, let me say that all holes are different. The holes on this bike are probably different from the holes on your bike. If that technique worked on your bike, then good for you. It did not work on this bike, and let me show you why. Okay, so this is the hole that we're working with, and as you can see, it's not just a complete void. There's actually a bit of a hood. So you have to guide the cable under this hood, hopefully snake it through and get it to pop out. The hole on this particular frame is actually pretty small. You can see this is the official Park Tool internal routing thing, and it actually kind of struggles to get into the hole. Like, the tolerance is that tight. Another suggestion that someone had was to use a zip tie, loop it over itself, and push it through the hole, and then try to capture the cable as it passes by. Again, I have no doubt that that works on some frames, but on this frame, it's kind of a really tight proposition, although I will try it with the camera. Before I stick the endoscope into the bike, let me tell you, disclaimer, I am not a master mechanic, but you know who is a sponsor of today's video. Pros Closet is where you can buy baller used bikes that have been inspected by master mechanics. Each bike goes through a 141-point inspection before arriving at your door. My top picks for this week is this very supple Surly Straggler with Gevinol shifters and an Easton Adventure crank, and this very purple and very custom DeSalvo that was actually built as a show bike for Grinduro. There's lots of interesting bikes from big brands to small builders. Use the coupon code below for free shipping, and thanks to Pros Closet for sponsoring this video. So I've got the camera connected here. I'm gonna sync it really quick. 1, 2, 3. One challenge is when I ordered this camera, the capsule head is actually a lot bigger than I thought. So even though this can bend fairly well, it's still a pretty tight squeeze in the bike frame itself, but we'll do what we can. So there is the bottom bracket. Let's see what's inside the bike. I think this is pretty cool. I'm actually gonna turn on the light here. And let's go in. All right. The camera is inside the bike. I'm gonna try to triangulate where we are exactly. So I've gone in through the bottom bracket hole. We've got a couple of holes here, the exit hole for the housing, as well as some bottle bosses where I remove the screws. So I'm just gonna poke a tool through and see if we can find it here. We can see the tip of this pick right here. And where the cable exits is actually over here, which I can just barely get. Okay, there it is. This is the tip of the tool coming out of the cable exit, And you can see why it's tricky here. There's a definite hood. It's not just a big hole, and you have to somehow aim the housing and the cable right into this very particular spot. This is the hole that we're aiming for. Let's try a couple techniques that people suggested. The one I am really curious about is actually using a small zip tie as some kind of catch to maybe guide the cable through. And so first off, inserting the zip tie, what does that look like? Does it actually spread out like we think it does? Okay, there's kind of a loop. Maybe that might work. I think you'd have to get fairly lucky in order to capture it well. So the thinking is that you would be able to capture it with the zip tie here. But man, I just don't see that happening. Oh, maybe. There is a cable in the way. Oh. Maybe if I use a magnet to drag it over a little bit. Does that help? If I twist it. I mean, you can see the issue here, right? It's gonna take about as much luck as anything to actually get it. Come on. Maybe if I twist. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It does work, but it's not as easy as you would think. I don't know. That's just a tall order. Like it doesn't. I'm gonna put a little bend in the shifter cable and see if I can twist it into the loop. Again, that's what we're shooting for. Overshot it. I mean, one problem is that there is other housing in here. Okay, technically possible, but it would be hard to do by feel. I'm having difficulty actually seeing what's happening, so yeah, I don't know about that one. Okay, so someone else suggested something similar using monofilament. Because I am a fly fisher person, I have a bunch of monofilament around. I think this is 20 pound. I'm gonna try the same thing to see if it spreads out any different. So again, I'm gonna go through the cable hole. Okay. You can see, I mean, it spreads out a little bit better just because the way it spreads out in the frame, it's a bigger kind of net, if you will. Oh, dang it, so close. But again, I would classify this as not easy, even with the ability to see what's going on here. Come on, ugh. It's just really hard. Come on. Oh. Okay. I think I've got it. Now, can we guide it through? All right. Holy jeez. So, of the two, fishing line does seem to work better than a small zip tie, but only because I had the endoscope and because I could see what was going on. So while I have the cable in there, I'm going to demonstrate the issue I was having with the not being able to push the housing over the cable itself. So there, we've got the cable. You can see the housing overshot even though it's connected to it. And every time I push the housing, trying to slip it over the cable, the difference in, rigidity just doesn't make it possible. I mean, I guess, if you had all the time in the world, this would work eventually. But as of now, as I push the shifter housing over the cable, you can see it is deforming it and is not working. Because I do want to ride this bike, preferably sometime in my lifetime, I did end up buying the Park Tool internal cable routing kit to see if it was any easier. And let's see how easy it is. So if you've never seen this kit, you get 4 different kind of guided cable wires. They all have magnetic ends. This one has a threaded barb that would go into the cable housing, and then you can pull it through that way. So that's what I'm going to use. The end of it is this fairly small rubberized black thing with a magnet. I think, like I mentioned before, the holes are fairly small. It actually takes some amount of work to get it into the frame. Okay. Jeez. Okay, so this is the Park tool that's made to do this, and you can see it's stuck. Like, this hole is just really tight. You know, I am not sandbagging it. I'm trying to get it in there. Thank goodness that it's fairly robust because it's getting super abraded as I try to get it through the hole. So like I said, not all holes are the same. There are varying degrees of difficulty. I think this one is particularly difficult because I've seen some carbon frames where there's a bigger kind of cavity, and that seems easy compared to this. God dang. All right, it's in. Pushing it through. Oh, you can start to see it over there. So it looks like, where are we in relation here? Where the pick is coming out of is where we want the hole. Maybe I can manipulate it a little bit. Magnet is strong, but it's not strong enough to really pull that. Let's try it again. I'm gonna back it off a little bit and this time try to guide it properly. I know someone commented on, you know, how the cables were crisscrossing in the frame incorrectly. You know, I was following how they were guided when they came to me, assuming that they knew the best way to do it. So, okay, a little bit better. So we got the tip of the Park tool on the better side of cable housing. Is not strong enough to guide it by itself into the hole. Just, it's not. Hopefully I illustrated the problem where there was a hood that we have to get under and it's just a really small hole. So this by itself, not working on this bike. Thankfully, however, one of the other four wire guides, if you will, has a magnet on it of the opposite polarity, so it should suck it in, or same polarity, opposite, I don't know, whichever. This should work to draw the other end that's in there out the hole. Okay, so I'm taking this end and I'm hoping to mate it up. Oh, there you go. You saw it move. Still not quite strong enough to draw it out of the hole by itself. There's just too much friction. But let's see if I can push and pull. If I can just get a little bit of the head out there. Oh, all right. This is where we're at. It's able to at least get the tip out, but still not strong enough to pull it out by itself, just because the fit is so tight with the hole on this bike. That is when this guy comes in, I'm just gonna kind of wrap it around the head and hopefully pull it out. All right. Holy smokes. Not quite done. I gotta take the barb end of the Park tool, barb it to the housing and draw that through. Hopefully this is the easy part. Do want to ride this bike this year at some point. All right, here comes the cable. You can see the barb in the housing there, and you really do have to push it. Or even with the right tool, this is like not easy. Come on. Do I pull it or push it? Come on, please go through. All right. Yay, oh my God, we did it. I'm gonna ride this bike this year. Holy geez. Okay, so I guess the moral of the lesson is buy the Park tool if you want to save yourself a lot of time. I wanted to try the non-official tool way because one, that would make for a super boring video if you just bought the thing and it worked. But also, this tool is not inexpensive. It's about 70 bucks. And I know a lot of people don't want to spend the money for a tool like this that you're going to use maybe once over the course of the life of the bike. I decided to buy it just to see how much easier it would be. It's definitely more consistent than the other methods, but I think there's still a level of difficulty. But also because, you know, realistically, I change things on my bikes all the time, and this is going to save me a lot of headache and just keep the hair on my head. As for the endoscope, it's still on. We'll have to find more new interesting ways to use this thing on the bike, on the channel. I think this is actually a pretty cool piece of tech. For 30 bucks, you can view the inside of things if that's your thing. I guess I should summarize by saying that if you like internal routing, well, that's great for you. It is clearly not my thing. I don't think adding a second derailleur should be this difficult, should require a $70 tool. I don't want to crap on this bike because I love how it rides. I just hate working on it. It bums me out that it went internally routed. But again, that's just my opinion. One person. Big external routing is not paying me to make this video. It's just my personal experience. Hopefully you like this video. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always, keep the supple side down.